I meant to do this a while ago, and I just didn't get around to it. Not until now. So, this is revisiting my Volume 9 bingo from before the volume started, and seeing everything that I got right, or didn't get right, or stuff that was close enough. So, these first two are already wrong. I was so convinced that the Ever After was going to be the world where the relics were from. I was so convinced. Zambrosius is literal, and Yang is like, this is the central location is a place like the vaults. So I'm like, oh, so it's connected to the vaults then. So if you fall, you end up in the relic world. I was wrong. So that one's not right, and then we didn't see either of the other two relics. I mean, we didn't see any relic, to be fair. Well, no, I think we see staff. Yeah, no, we do see staff and knowledge. We see creation and knowledge in the flashback in the first episode. No, we do see those two. We don't see the other two, though. And then an obvious one. The night being Jean. That one was obvious, though. But it still counts for a correct point. Neo redemption. I was pretty convinced on this, too. Or not necessarily redemption, but more so that, like, realizing that RWBY really isn't the reason that Roman's gone. And deciding that she would temporarily team up with the heroes just to take down Cinder and then go to do her own thing. I was wrong about that. But Neo does cause the next one to be right. Someone stays in the Ever After. Neo did indeed stay in the Ever After and ascended, which I still think is the best send-off for a villain that they've done. No Remnant, I was wrong, thankfully. I'm so glad that there wasn't no Remnant at all. Little is actually evil. That one, I don't remember if I did that one as kind of a joke or not. But it's always funny to have like a character that seems so sweet and innocent, and then no, they're actually the villain. Well, Little wasn't the one we needed to worry about. So, got that one wrong. Characters returning. So, this one, my standard for what I counted as a returning character was that the character had to be gone 2 or more volumes, I believe is what I said. So, like, Glinda in Volume 8 would count for a returning character for Volume 8. And I think that would also be Sun and Neptune count. Yeah, because they weren't seen since Volume 6, and they were in Volume 8 during the broadcast. That would have also counted. This counts because we have Pyrrha as a Neo illusion who has not been around since... I mean, she hasn't been alive since Volume 3, but we have RWBY's flashbacks in Volume 6, so that's really the most recent one, so that counts. Leo hasn't been here since Volume 5. We haven't seen Ozpin, but he's been around, so he doesn't really count. But Raven also counts, so... Another point. Is delayed a third time. Thank God that did not happen. Thank God. But now we're still on the Greenlight Volume 10 train. Please, Greenlight Volume 10. I as entertaining as the Justice League movies are, I don't want that to be where RWBY ends. And I don't want Volume 9 to be where it ends either. This story should be allowed to finish. Alex is the Summer Maiden. I think I theorized that in the same video as the Ever After is the Relic World. That one was just false. Character dies. Yeah, that happened. Curious Cat died. The Jabberwocker died. Funnily enough, both of the gods' first creations were killed by Neo. Neo died. RWBY died for a little bit. Oh. We'll get there, but that's interesting. Pyrrha, I just mentioned her for characters returning. We got her in the, in the Neo, Tea Party. I believe that I said Pyrrha was allowed to exist in any capacity for it to count. Very little remnant. We got very little remnant. We got the flashbacks. We didn't get remnant the way I thought we were going to get remnant or initially wanted, but we got it in a way that's arguably better. Vacuo time travel. So my theory was that because Ambrosius is literal, the Vacuo that he sent the refugees to was not the present-day Vacuo, but the Vacuo that he was familiar with, which would have been a long time ago, before Atlas came up. There's a possibility that the relic of creation could have been used in Vacuo. That's why he mentions having to manipulate space-time instead of just space, and I still don't really understand why you would need to manipulate both space-time in order to do that, but whatever. And then that led into a bootstrap paradox theory that Jin's first question was actually used to create the plans for a time machine to bring everyone back to the present, and they would use the staff in Vacuo, hence creating the cause of why Ambrosius would be familiar with Vacuo in the past to create that time machine so that they can come back to the present. That was my theory, and I was very wrong, but there was Vacuo time travel. For one, there was time travel anyway because of Jean, but two, the blacksmith sends them back to Remnant with the pretense of you're being sent back to when you're needed most. And they happen to be in Vacuo. So that is Vacuo time travel. Not the one I mentioned, but it is Vacuo time travel. Which gives us a bingo. Theodore? No. No Theodore. Coffee and or Son. We were that close. I've watched the animatic. We were that close to getting to see them again. That close. New Grimm? No. That was the movies. The movies gave us a New Grimm. I forget what. They called it Loch Ness Grimm. I think that's what they called it. I would have said spoiler alert, but that wasn't one of the clips. That wasn't one of the clips from before the movie. So I'll do a review at some point of part 2. Anything Stark related. I was right. There was some stuff Stark related. We got Team Stark. Not Crow, but we got the other 3. It counts. Semblance evolution. So I think this is done poorly because they don't properly elaborate on it. But Neo's semblance does evolve. The commentary, apparently, is that Neo's semblance evolves because the acre she landed in is the experimental acre where the brothers did their creations before coming to Remnant. I don't know how we were supposed to know that without them just saying that, because it's not like anything visually alludes to that at all. It's a cool idea, I just wish they would have actually explained it in the show. But, semblance evolution. Bumblebee kiss. I love Blake and Yang, and I love that we finally got to have them finally become official. It's so good. It's so good that the bees are finally official. The cast and crew can finally talk about how it's. We can finally talk about it after 10 years. Oh, love it. Love it. And it's so beautifully well done. Such a good scene. I don't know if I ever brought it up, but on video at least, but Barbara Dunkelman actually saw the clip of me reacting to the bee kiss. It was amazing. Blake and John interactions. We got them. This is Blake's first time in canon actually ever saying Jean's name. I'm not making that up. She said it in Sheepy before she said it in Ice Queendom. It took her 9 volumes to ever say his name in the actual show. RWBY breakdown. Yep, that. Roman outright said you deserve to be broken down. Did I mention Roman for characters returning? I don't even think that I did, and he's like the first one. I'm going to talk about the last one first. Penny's body is not shown. Thankfully. I would have broken. It is somewhere in the Ever After, though. I just want to point that out. It's somewhere down there. And as for this one, yes, we got it, but not as good as it should have been. RWBY and John Angst does not have nearly the effort put into it that was needed in order to do it a proper service. So the commentary is supposed to be that Weiss did say that John killed Penny initially. Which, that's not how it comes across. It doesn't come across like that at all. It comes across as Weiss saying that John tried to help, but it doesn't come across as her saying, oh yeah, he actually had to be the one to take her life. The way that it's portrayed makes it seem like they were building up to it being a bomb dropped. Because Weiss doesn't say it in episode 1. And when John reunites with them, John doesn't say it. So whenever the fight happens the next episode, I was sitting there hoping, oh, they're gonna finally bring it up. And they do, but it's vague. Jean says, I'm the only one who could have done it. And it's like, do you want to elaborate on what it is that you did so that RWBY can actually know? Because as far as what the show has portrayed, she doesn't know. And I'm going to keep saying it like that she doesn't know until they actually properly do that scene the service that it deserves. And I keep saying that it should be a flashback. We should have a flashback to an actual moment where RWBY actually learns that Jean did it. And then we can have another moment where it's RWBY and John. Because RWBY and John need to have a conversation about it. The best place to have done it would have been in the argument. And I know they were like, oh, well, we don't think that RWBY would have been mad. I inherently disagree with that to begin with, because she's already in a mental state where she's saying things she doesn't mean. So I already don't agree with that to begin with. But even if we don't assume RWBY mad at John, Jean should be mad at RWBY in that scene. I mean, he is, but his "you're why we're in the ever after" to begin with should have continued into, and that plan is also why Penny's gone and why I had to be the one to do it. It is a disservice to the RWBY and Penny relationship. It's a disservice to the RWBY and Jean relationship to not have done that correctly. And I understand budget being a huge hindrance, and I give it a lot of leeway in other ways. Not that one. Because that one feels like an intentional choice to not do something that needed to be a priority. So, I'm criticizing that one. I'm going to stay criticizing that one. Another alternative would be to soft retcon and say Volume 10 is when she learns, but that's not as ideal because it should be before the breakdown. And the worst possible way that they could do it is not show her initial reaction and just have a talk about it. We need both. We need her actually learning Jean did it, because we don't actually have that. We have her learning that Penny died. We need the explicit, she learns that it's Jean. That needs to happen still, because it hasn't happened. Even if she knows, we don't have the scene where she learned. We need the scene where she learned, and we need a scene between her and Jean discussing it. Again, it should have been the argument, because it should have been a factor of the angst and the argument. But if it's just flashback to Ruby learning that Jean did it, and we get a talk between them, even if it's not angst, as long as the two happen, it will be a passable rectification of what is otherwise just a disservice. That plus, in general, I think Jean's trauma in Volume 9 is not properly explored, and I really hope Volume 10 delves into that. Weiss as well. I really think Volume 10 should have Weiss and Jean focus. I think that needs to be a huge focal point for Volume 10 if we get it. We need Jean still having issues from being alone for so long and still trying to come to terms with having to do that to Penny. And we need more of Weiss's reaction to Atlas that Volume 9 didn't give us, because it was more focused on basically everybody else. Oh, hopefully that is how... hopefully that's how it comes to be. But we'll see. We still don't have an announcement for Volume 10 being greenlit. I really, really, really want this story to be allowed to have the ending that it deserves. So, we need to keep on with that Greenlight Volume 10 movement that we've been doing since RTX. That frankly, it hasn't died. We need to keep doing that. We need, as much as I really don't like the idea of Rooster Teeth getting money, that is unfortunately the way RWBY gets to continue, and RWBY should be allowed to continue. So, yeah. So, there it is. I did get a bingo somehow through kind of getting stuff right, but not exactly. I'm gonna do one for, if we get Volume 10, I am gonna do one for Volume 10. I just don't know if I'm gonna do it as I don't know if I'm gonna do it when we get the trailer, or if I'm gonna do it beforehand, just as these are the things that I hope Volume 10 does. We'll see what happens. But until then, there's the bingo. I'll try to work on doing a review for Part 2 of RWBY Justice League. I'm trying to think if I've got any other... I do have one RWBY project that's in the pipeline at the moment. That's in the writing stage for the time being. I'm not going to delve into it too much, but it's probably going to be the most ambitious one of the channel so far, whenever it finally gets finished being written. There's a lot to go into. It has a lot, but... So, until then, do all of that YouTube algorithm stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of you are not subscribed. It's like a 95% people are not subscribed to this channel that watch the videos. So, you know, it's just a real quick click. Or 2 clicks if you want to do the bell as well. And I will see you when I see you.